Hi, I'm Shrankhla, the founder and CEO of Uma, an Ayurvedic beauty and wellness collection. This is the Uma Ayurveda podcast. Each week, I'll be having a conversation with someone I greatly admire on the topics of Ayurveda, holistic healing, spiritual well-being, and alternative health. By sharing wisdom, I hope to share a personal truth and revelation with you that as ancient as they are, Ayurveda and other healing modalities are as modern and relevant today as ever. Lifestyle writer, creative, nutritionist, and chef, Tara Sowlaty is a beacon in the world of wellness and self-care. As co-founder of the lifestyle site How You Glow, Tara provides a resource for anyone seeking holistic living tips, wellness-focused inspiration, and honest ways to honor our health and how we connect with ourselves. Since a young age, Tara has been a student of various modalities, including how to use food as medicine. In her conversation with me, Tara unveils the worldly wisdom she's garnered from her travels and studies, and the ways in which she learned to become her own healer. Tara, hi. It's such a great pleasure to be talking to you, albeit in these crazy circumstances. And I am so excited to follow up, to talk a little bit more about healing, self-care, and all the things that you set such a beautiful example of around being the best one can be in mind-body health. So welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm just so grateful to be able to connect during, such a weird and uncertain time in our world. But luckily we have technology to connect us. And I think that's the beautiful side of technology.
It indeed is. And I would be remiss if I also didn't mention, sorry, I sound like such a fangirl, but you're one of the people that I have seen use technology for such good, both on
Thank you.
your social media channels as well as other ways that you touch lives digitally. And you've been such a force for good in this arena. So I felt like it's worth calling out since the topic of technology came up.
Thank you. Thank you. I really, truly, truly appreciate that. I have the biggest smile on my face. I just feel like, especially those of us who have expertises and we've studied, and I think having a platform, it's almost your duty to share and offer up your wisdom to the world and make that a positive experience, so that what I've learned, I'm able to parlay that into someone else's lives and affect their life, and hopefully they take that in and they add it to their lives and make themselves better. So it's just kind of like a chain reaction in a way.
And I'm glad you touch on that virtuous circle, as well as very grateful for you and all the wisdom that you have to share, because Ayurveda in particular for a very long time was just an oral tradition. For thousands of years, it was just orally communicated. So much of the wisdom that remains today and touches so many lives very positively, certainly mine, came from a similar mindset and goodwill as yours, of people taking the initiative with their wisdom and passing it along. So thank you to you, and thank you for the thousands of sages who did that for Ayurveda many thousands of years ago. And I feel like this is a good segue into getting insight into your world, which, Tara, is such a comprehensive and thoughtful journey and approach of taking care of yourself. It's also a stunning and beautiful to follow example. But I'd like to start out with the understanding if there were some precipitating factors, or it was intuitive, or what brought about this way of life for you?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. So for me, my journey really began when I was in my early teens, I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease at the age of 14. And it was something that I knew had to do with my gut. And, and the gut is related to food and the stomach and all of that. So I got very curious as to how food could affect my body. And I learned about different eating modalities like veganism, vegetarianism, even Ayurveda. I was introduced to an Ayurvedic healer around the age of 15 and really learned about the power of food and how it can push forward healing. And from there, after I went to school, I went to college, I studied business. But all throughout then, I was kind of trying to learn and teach myself how to cook healthy food. And I was always obsessed with food as well as when I was younger. So I fell across this natural food cooking school one summer when I was living in New York City. I told myself, when I graduate college, I have to go to this school. So I went to this amazing school called the Natural Gourmet Institute, and that was truly where I think I've learned the most in my whole life. They not only taught us about natural foods and the best ingredients to use, it was a much more holistic approach to food as medicine, about your daily practices, and it's just very practical knowledge that should honestly be like a God-given right to every person. But sometimes through history, I think especially in this country, a lot of that knowledge has really dissipated. So I was so grateful to learn that knowledge. And from that school, I was introduced to a holistic nutrition program through which I decided to join, and I became certified. And then I was a health providing natural food chef for a family for a while. So that was kind of how I got into this journey. And from there, I decided to kind of take my knowledge and put it on like an online lifestyle site through which I created How You Glow with my business partner. And it's been an incredible journey of sharing knowledge and learning from other healers and seekers, and just creating a very approachable avenue for wellness. Not that it's one way to live, it's not one way to eat, it's not one way to work out. It's just an easy, approachable way, and just a wealth of knowledge so that you can pick and choose the things that make sense for your life.
And I love how well curated, genuine, and in many ways moderate the wisdom on How You Glow is. And other works that you've written, it is very approachable, and I love that about your work. Tara, as I'm sure many are struggling with either diagnosed or undiagnosed gut chronic disorders and are maybe just starting on their journeys. I'd like to hear if you found things that challenged you as you discovered this path and how you navigated some of those challenges.
One of the biggest challenges for me personally was kind of admitting to myself that I have the power, just because, especially if you're diagnosed with something at a younger age, you're constantly told what to do on how to deal with your symptoms and your illness. And I think that when you learn that you have the power to take on what you have been given, that's when you can really create change. And we can all be our own healers, and that's absolutely, it's not just a quote, it's absolutely the truth. And that's why I try to promote a moderate approach, because there's absolutely no one right answer. Everybody has their own prescription, everybody has their own specific toolkit that they should be able to create for themselves to help them figure out whatever they need to figure out.
And I want to stay maybe a couple more seconds on the powerful turn of phrase around having the power, because it felt so intuitive when you said it. And yet I was reminded of how often I forget that about my day, about my month, about the influence I can wield on my body, my mind, the world at large. So I think it's a good mantra for all of us, for all things big and small, to remind ourselves of that. Speaking of powerful things, I think there is so much wisdom to unpack here, and I want to hear about it all, time permitting. And I suppose your yoga and meditation practice might be a good place to start. Was it your teacher training in Bali that started to inspire it all? How did you get to incorporate a big yoga and meditation practice within your regimen?
I definitely started meditating before I went to Bali. I was first introduced.
Making it sound dramatic and beautiful. All eat, love, if you will.
I think let's make it lovely and dramatic. I went to Bali when I believe I was 14 with my family. And it was the most transformative, magical experience that I have ever experienced on any trip. And I got there and I told my family, this is my place. This is where I'm getting married. This is where I'm moving to. Like, I just had some visceral experience with Bali. And it was before like anyone I knew had ever been there. It was before anyone had ever talked about it. Like, I was 14 and no one really ever talked about Bali. I truly connected to their simpatico with the divine. Like, the way they live their lives is just so intertwined with spirituality and ancestors and the righteousness of family. And I think that was a very transformative experience for me, and I knew that Bali would be a very big part of my life. Since that time, I have gone to Bali 3 other times in very long spurts. Being in that place, just kind of being exposed to that connection of self, I think really resonated with me, and I brought that back home with me, and I got deep into yoga and learned about different kinds of meditation. I got trained in Vedic meditation. And then I came across this incredible program in Bali, and where I was going to be trained in Ashtanga-based inversion yoga and Vedic meditation chanting. So it was a very special experience, very challenging, and really transformative experience. And I think the deeper you get into meditation, the more you kind of bringing it back to what we were talking about before, just shows you that you truly can be your own healer. When you get access to these tools, you really realize that you yourself have so much power.
There's so much in there, starting with the fact that going to Bali at 14, it definitely sounds fortuitous for reasons. It's especially in North America, I don't see that many families, especially young families, holidaying in Bali. The fact that you felt an instant connection, the fact that up in such a meaningful way, it definitely sounds like it was all in the cards, or the universe conspiring to make it all happen. It's also amazing to see how your practice and journey has evolved. Tara, could you share some of the tools that have helped you evolve in that practice? Because certainly with meditation, I know a lot of people struggle.
Absolutely. Yeah, I have a lot to say on this, because I've been the type of person that has meditated for 25 minutes twice a day, and I've been the person where I haven't meditated for 3 months. So I think that I've come to a place where I truly believe and want to promote a very not dogmatic approach to meditation. So that means for me that my meditation practice looks very varied. So that sometimes it means that I meditate 20 minutes in the morning. Sometimes that means I meditate on a walk. Sometimes that means I'll do drawing meditation where I get my watercolors and that's my meditation for the day. I think that we can truly make so many different practices a form of meditation, and teaching people that that's okay, because I think a lot of people tell themselves, oh, I have to sit down against a comfy pillow with my eyes closed and my hands open and receiving to be quote unquote meditating. And I just don't believe that's true. And I think that's absolutely the opposite of what meditation is and should promote. It's whatever you are able to do in your life to accomplish that form of connection to self, that is your form of meditation. And being kind to yourself, being easy on yourself, being flexible with yourself. Sometimes we get into routines where that 20 minutes twice a day works, and that's wonderful. But then sometimes we don't. And that doesn't mean that you should get upset at yourself, or because that's just a bad process, because then you feel bad about it. And then think about that. You feel bad about not meditating. That's the absolute opposite thing that meditation is the point of. So I think we all need to be kinder to ourselves and more flexible, and show that we can meditate in so many ways. You can meditate while you're driving. You can meditate on a walk. You can meditate, snuggling with your dog. It's just, there's so many ways to connect to the self. And I think that's very important and something that I'm really trying to promote.
And that is a beautiful framing of the topic and the practice as a whole, in that even broader than meditation, I think sometimes wellness can feel like a chore to people, and they start to have a visceral reaction to it, which is something that needs to get nipped in the bud immediately. And sometimes it can feel like a privilege to have the time to be able to do those things. And those are the times you sort of take advantage of that time, and other times you don't. But I love the framing of self-love and meditation coming in different forms, so you're not beating yourself up for not practicing it in a traditional sense, as it were. And balance, harmony come from a variety of things, such as yoga and meditation. Arguably, most fundamentally within Ayurveda, they do come from food. And that's something that I am dying to hear your philosophy on, especially since you've studied so many different styles of modalities around using food as medicine.
Yeah, food is my thing. So I absolutely love and cherish my meals and my food, and it just brings me so much joy, and I create such a fun ritual around it, and every day looks different for me. So I really tune into my body. I'm more of an intuitive eater. And when I wake up, if I'm hungry, I'll have a bigger meal. I'll have like a frittata or some sort of healthy baked good that I made the night before, and I'll warm it up, or some delicious gluten-free toast with ghee on top. Some days I'm not that hungry, so I'll just have berries and a tonic, or so it's just about being very intuitive. I'm not dogmatic in the sense that, like, oh, I wake up, I have to have eggs and this and that. I think our bodies are much more sensitive than that, and I think it's very important to listen to our bodies. And I'm a chef, so every day really looks different. I'm inspired by what I have in my fridge, what I pick up at the farmer's market every week, and just getting creative with, delicious, cozy foods. I love foods that are like caramelized and cooked, and lots of fresh herbs. And I love like a lemony vinegar salad, and I love sweets. And I won't deny myself of that. I've done that in the past, and it just doesn't serve me. And and sweet, like a delicious date with nuts or healthy chocolate. And I just feel like food is so not only nourishing to my body, but it's truly nourishing to my soul. And I really honor that.
And there is something so natural about intuitive eating that is underscored in Ayurveda, both in terms of food and hydration, that it's nice to see you honor that. Further, if there was a mindset or a philosophy that you could impart on our listeners to make eating more delightful and more more celebratory and intuitive every day, would there be something that we can take right away and add to our eating habits?
Well, I think that just I first off think distinguishing the foods that bring you joy. So that means tapping into your eating habits. And I think all of us can name, you know, the foods that bring us the most joy and really honoring that and allowing yourself to eat those things. And let's say your favorite food is sweet potatoes, and that, you know what I mean, like making room for that and finding delicious ways to honor that. And or if your favorite food is chocolate, like figuring out how to make that fit into your routine and in a way that doesn't upset you or make you stressed out, or um, just getting in tune with yourself and really listening to what your body wants. It's like there's sounds there if you listen. Like we can mask those sounds by just eating and not thinking, and I don't think that's a very fulfilling way to go about, a food philosophy.
You're totally right. That definitely is true, both in terms of the sounds as well as, at least speaking for myself, sounds that I may have concealed
Yeah.
consciously or subconsciously, that definitely need giving more credence to. So that's
Yeah.
for me right away. Tara, you're also a healer. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So as a health coach, I've been, working with clients and, helping them heal their food journeys. But on top of that, I have delved really deep into the power of crystals. And on my in training in Bali, I became obsessed with the power of mandala and, crystal grids and all that. So I really, really delved deep into that technology and have facilitated, workshops and classes and one-on-one sessions with people to help them harness their creativity and innate wisdom to kind of bring forth what they're looking for in their lives.
Can you share profound healing experience you might have had with somebody, if you feel comfortable?
There was one girl who was really, truly stuck in her job, stuck in her relationship, and she got broken up with. And, we worked together, and I kind of advised her she honestly had never traveled before. And I advised her to figure out how to, upend her life and go somewhere new. And she did just that. She figured out how to transfer her job to London. She fully upended her life, and it was the best decision she's ever made. And I think sometimes we just need someone to give us that little push in life and confidence, to really follow something new. And it seems very scary sometimes, but when you have someone to lean on and get that information from, I think you can create really transformative experiences in your life.
I appreciate your sharing that, because sometimes, even when we hear words of wisdom, it's hard to connect it with ourselves. And in some shape or form, all live experiences speak to certain parts of us, whether we're feeling stuck or are in an unhealthy relationship or feeling professionally unmotivated. That success stories always help give us that personal enthusiasm and reaching out for help when we need. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tara, I also know that you work with crystals in a big way.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so as I was saying, I really got inspired to delve deeper into crystals during my experience in Bali. I always had been very, very fascinated with them from a young age. When I was in Girl Scouts, actually, I was like 7 or 8. We stumbled upon this crystal show on one of our like Girl Scout trips, and I just was collecting little rocks and all these little baby crystals and stuff since I was young. And I just have a very, very strong affinity to them, as many, many people do. But when I went to Bali, I was so fascinated by the daily mandala offerings that they create. If you've been to Bali, you know that, to every entrance and every doorway and every pathway, there's these beautiful offerings. And I wanted to bring that back home with me in a way that I could offer that to other people. So I really, really delved deep into crystal technology and, um, you know, there's different patterns in the universe. There's a Fibonacci sequence, there's different geometrical shapes, a spiral, and these things make up our DNA, the structures of plants. And so utilizing crystals with this structural technology of the earth can really, really amplify intentions. So, as I was saying with my healing sessions, I kind of teach people how to utilize the power of crystals to amplify intention. So, you can be very specific with crystals in that way, or you cannot. You don't crystals can go both ways. So you can just get a crystal, put it in your home. If you resonate with that crystal, bring it to you, and you can just let it be. Or you can use them as specific tools to amplify what you're looking for in your life. So it's really dynamic. Crystals are very dynamic, and they can bring you as much as you'd like them to, or you can just let them be and work their magic on their own. And on top of that, they're just such beautiful gems that come from Mother Earth, and it's just a beautiful reminder of Earth energy that I think is so lovely to have around.
It really is. And it makes me wonder what your philosophy on getting started with crystals is. Do you feel that it is best to do it via a consult, or do you think it's okay to get started on one's own and see an expert practitioner at a later time? Because I could see it both ways.
Yeah, I agree. I think absolutely both ways. I think kind of going back with my approach to life in general, I'm just not a very dogmatic person. So I think if you feel called to wanting to get specific with an expert and get a consult, that's what you should be doing. Or if you're that person that says, no, I want to learn on my own, I want to just feel it out, then that's what you should do. So I think that's what's so beautiful about crystals, is that there's no one way to interact with them, there's no one way to use them, and they serve different purposes for different people. So and I think the first step with any crystal is you should be drawn to it. It shouldn't be something that this person said, oh, that's a good crystal, you should get it. It has to be an intimate relationship with that crystal, with that specific shape of that crystal, how that crystal feels in your hand, the energy you feel when you hold it. So it's a very, very unique and prescriptive experience. And I don't always necessarily agree with somebody picking out a crystal for you. I think that crystal healer should guide people towards a crystal, not, be very dogmatic in how they tell other people to use it.
Is there a resource or a book that you like to advise to someone who might be just starting to understand crystals or is curious about it? Obviously, you got me very curious about a consultation with you. Do you make that available to other people? And what's the best way for some of our audiences? I know you're based in Los Angeles, to go about that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So first, your first question, the Book of Stones is the Bible, I would say. So I can give you a link to that if you want to share that with the listeners.
Will
It's
do.
It's an incredible resource. And secondly, yeah, I can share my email with you, and I set up one-on-one consults, and if you're in LA, I can take you to one of my sources, and we can, do like a session and pick out some crystals together. And that, just through email, we can do that. So it's a really, really lovely experience.
And it's one that I get a lot of questions around because crystals and metals have a very revered place in Ayurveda, not just in balancing one's own energy with the earth. It also goes back to how other planets and Vedic astrology has an impact on your life, your health, your mental balance, your emotional well-being, your relationships. And crystals and metals show up often in ways to manage that within Vedic astrology. So it's definitely one arena that we get a lot of questions around. It's inspiring that you have such a rich tradition of wellness integrated into your life, but also that you do many delightful things like a lot of travel, and you have a full plate professionally. Sometimes those things can feel orthogonal to each other in terms of being able to balance them. Any tips on how you do that well?
Yeah, I think that I have made wellness practices such an ingrained part of my daily routine that um, I don't really stress about staying well when I travel. Like, for example, I always have a ton of water with me on the airplane. I drink a lot of warm water with lemon. Um, I, incorporate veggies and greens into my meals, but I never really stress about um, you know, having to work out or eating a specific way. Like when I'm traveling, I fully embrace and indulge in whatever experience that I'm, going to. So that to me is wellness. That to me is being present and being mindful of the fact of where I am in the world and really embracing it for what it is. Like that is being well. And not going absolutely overboard, but really honoring where you are in the world and like making that the norm instead of being so stuck to one rigid way of being well. Um, that hasn't served me in the past. And I feel like once you really embrace being in a different culture and living a different life, like that shows you how resilient you are. And that shows you how dynamic you are, that you can be in a different place in the world and adapt and learn that culture and be that way and still be well. So I think it's a practice of like being mindful and being very present with where you are.
That is indeed very sage. And having met you, I can see that you embody that in such a beautiful, practical, and real way, because there is an energy around you that seems very much at peace and connected to one's surroundings. So there's that much more reason for us to be taking this seriously and trying our best to be present and make wellness enjoyable, because that's pretty much the only way something sticks, is when it's intuitive, it's pleasurable, it's moderate, and which is something that we have very much been trying to do with the dissemination of Ayurvedic principles, because they are at bottom all of those things, and wherever you are in your wellness journey is okay. So those fighting words seem like a great place to leave our listeners with, and to think about everything wonderful that you've shared with us during this conversation. Tara, any words or any parting thoughts that we may have not covered, but that help you stay inspired every day?
Well, thank you so much for your kind, kind words. And I would just love to leave everyone with kind of just hammer home this sense of moderation. And in some ways, this is one of my favorite quotes. It's learn the rules like a pro so you can break them like an artist. Learn yourself inside and out, and allow yourself to stray from that as well, and indulge in the things that you love and bring you joy, and allowing your like variance in your life. That's what makes you so vibrant and happy. And I want to share with people that like that's okay to have that like dynamic self.
That is a great call to action. I certainly am inspired to do a little bit more of that than I already have been trying to do. Tara, thanks again for being here. I know there will probably be a ton of questions that I will be funneling your way once this goes live. And I look forward to exploring so much more with you, because you're such a clear beacon of wisdom and knowledge in this space. So
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'm so lucky to be speaking with you.
you are very welcome, and I'm sure we'll be talking soon.
Yes, be well.
Thank you so much for listening. If you'd like more information on our guests and the additional references during our conversation, please visit us at umaoils.com. That is U-M as in Mary, AOILS.com. And please subscribe to the Uma Ayurveda podcast and share. See you next time.